Good morning, everybody. We're so happy you're here. So, Rich in Ideas, Rich in Life. That's what we're talking about today. We have spent the last few weeks focusing on Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore's classic book, Prosperity, which examines abundant living as a way of life. Abundant living as a way of life. And that is exactly what we're doing here this month of November. We're examining how to create abundant living as a way of life. And here's an interesting tidbit that you may not realize about this book. It was originally published in 1936. What was happening in America in 1936?
We were coming out of the Depression.
Yeah, the Great Depression. It was truly in full swing. Here's a guy writing a book to teach people how to have a prosperity consciousness when the entire country is deeply steeped in lack consciousness. He sure had his work cut out for him, but clearly he was undaunted. I think having the historical perspective makes this passage even more meaningful. The spiritual substance from which comes all visible wealth is never depleted. It is right with you all the time and responds to your faith in it and your demands on it. It is not affected by our ignorant talk of hard times, though we are affected because our thoughts and words govern our demonstration. Pour your living words of faith into the omnipresent substance and you will be prospered through all the banks, though all the banks in the world close their doors. Wow. That's faith. That is faith, to stand in that knowledge. Realizing when that was written gives so much more power to the words that were already so very, very powerful. So today we're going to explore this concept, rich in ideas, rich in life. And we will. But there's something else that I was feeling really called to do this morning. And that is to kind of address the many, many levels of unrest that we're seeing in the world today. My husband and I were talking a little bit about this, that it just seems to be coming toward us from many different places. And you know, it's like, well, do we turn off the news? Do we turn off TV shows that we watch? Do we stop the feeds on our Facebooks and things like that? It's just been overwhelming in a lot of ways. Because I think when every single different event comes into our awareness, it can kind of ding away a little bit at us. It can be downright challenging, because we are people of spirit, to remember what is out there is just an effect. It is not cause. It is just an effect. It can be overwhelming. I think it's accurate to say that there's an emotional healing that needs to take place all the way around, not just our country, but worldwide. There's an emotional healing that needs to take place. And so I thought this was, where can you start? We start with ourselves. We start right where we are. So I thought we could do that a little bit today. And this is actually very much related to our topic, because we cannot be filled with rich ideas and experience a rich life if we're clogged up emotionally. It just cannot happen. Being emotionally clogged is like a dam around our hearts, holding back the mighty living waters of God's inspirations and ideas, clarity and creativity. It's a block. It's a block. And those waters will be held back until the dam is broken through. Not only do blocked emotions act like a dam holding back the flow of inspiration and ideas, clarity and creativity from being expressed through us, blocked emotions are also like a solid brick wall around us, keeping the abundant flow of good from reaching us. Now, I don't think any of us want to do that, right? We want that abundant good to come to us. We want to keep that flow. We want to keep it coming. So then, it's part of our deep, high, and holy spiritual work to work at clearing those blocks. We have to do that. That's really what is something I think that's important that we do. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote, "It," meaning God, "is ready to fill everything because it is infinite. So it is not a question of its willingness nor its ability. It is entirely a question of our own receptivity." God doesn't move away from us. We're the ones that move away from Spirit. We're the ones that move away from God. We are not receptive if we are emotionally blocked. That's just a plain and simple truth. And yet, we can't spiritually bypass our emotions either. Remember we talked about what spiritual bypass is? We love to do it in our New Thought circles. something is hurtful or upsetting or bothering us, and we immediately say, it's all good, it's all God, it's all good. Divine right order is taking place right now. We are all one. God's goodness is at the center of all things. So these are so true. Every one of these things are absolutely 100% true. And in fact, they are spiritual truth. And I say them all the time. But if we immediately go to them without acknowledging and truly feeling what we are feeling, then the unacknowledged, unfelt feelings are stuffed and actually become the building blocks of the dam within us and the wall that is around us. So I want to say that again because it's really important. Without acknowledging and truly feeling whatever it is we're feeling, because every one of our feelings is valid. We are allowed to feel whatever it is we are feeling. And I think a lot of times we say, oh no, but I'm spiritual. I don't need to feel that. That's not true. We have a right to feel what we are feeling. The unacknowledged, unfelt feelings are stuffed and actually become the building blocks of the dam within us and the wall around us. We have to feel the feelings to heal the hurt, to open ourselves up to experience the rich ideas and the rich life. But of course, if we just stay feeling the feelings, we also build the dam and the brick wall. So the key is to feel the feelings, but don't take up residence in them. It was Dr. Tom Costa. Who knows Dr. Tom Costa? Anybody? Oh, well, okay. Dr. Tom Costa was the founder of the Palm Desert Center for Spiritual Living, and he had a hip replacement, I think, at 85 and danced across the stage at a seminar. He was amazing. And he often said, he was quoted many, many times, when you are going through hell, keep on going, do not stop and build a condo. That was Dr. Tom Costa. So I ask a very important and pointed question this morning, which does not require a verbal answer, but please answer it honestly in your heart. Have you either spiritually bypassed your feelings about what has occurred in our nation and our world since over the past year or beyond, or have you built a condo of upset and resentment and fear and blaming and taken up residence? And I'm not just talking politics, I'm talking about everything that we've seen that has happened in our world in the past year or so. If you have spiritually bypassed your feelings, please do whatever you need to do to feel whatever feelings you are having. Speak to someone who can hold that space for you. See a practitioner or a minister or a spiritual leader who can hold that space and know the truth for you. You may want to take a tennis racket to your pillow, but not my pillow, because I like my pillow. So whatever it takes, and then open yourself up to the possibility of forgiveness. Oh my gosh, I said the F word. I'm so sorry. That is a tough one. Forgiveness, because that is where healing begins. Or if you are living in the condo of resentment or fear, etc., could today be the day that you let that healing begin? Remember once again, blocked emotions act like a dam holding back the flow of rich inspiration and ideas, clarity and creation, and they also are like a solid brick wall around us, keeping the abundant flow of good from reaching us. To help tear down the dam and the wall, I want to offer up this morning a powerful, powerful prayer of forgiveness. Of course, as I was writing this, I thought of Ed here, because Ed is someone who just brought something to my attention. There's no accidents. But this is the Buddhist prayer of forgiveness that I invite you to be with this morning. Be with it if you have anything going on inside, around, whether it's political, global, environmental, if there's any situation that is causing you to have some feelings that are maybe uncomfortable. Or if you're clear there, anywhere else in your life where you think that there may be a block. So close your eyes if you choose, and be with these words as I slowly recite them. If I have harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there is a situation I am not yet ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways that I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle myself, judge or be unkind to myself through my confusions, I forgive myself. Take a deep breath. Settle more deeply as you allow these words to be embodied in you as I say them one more time. If I have harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there's a situation I am not yet ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways that I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle myself, judge, or be unkind to myself through my confusions, I forgive myself. Take a couple of deep breaths and bring your attention back to the room and open your eyes when you're ready. By just being with these words, we have created a beautiful space for ideas, inspiration, clarity to flow. We've just done something magical. Good job. Okay, and let's widen them even more by looking at a profound passage from Prosperity. It's rather long, but it's really rich, so I want you to bear with me. We are sometimes asked whether we advocate the accumulation of riches, just as Rich was talking about. No, the accumulation of riches is futile, unless it is the outgrowth of a rich consciousness. We advocate the accumulation, rather, of rich ideas, ideas that are useful, constructive, and of service to the well-being of all humankind. The outer manifestation of riches may follow or it may not, but the supply for every need will be forthcoming because the person of rich ideas has confidence in the all-providing power that never fails. He or she may not have an extra dollar, but the ideas have merit, and he or she has confidence, a combination that cannot fail to attract the money to carry him forward. This is true riches, not an accumulation of money, but access to an inexhaustible resource that can be drawn on at any time to meet any righteous demand. When a person has a rich consciousness, there is no necessity for laying up gold or accumulating stocks and bonds or other property to ensure future supply. Such a one may be most generous with his wealth without fear of depletion because his rich ideas will keep him in constant touch with abundance. That last line is so very powerful. Such a one, meaning the one who has a rich consciousness, may be most generous with his wealth because without fear of depletion because his rich ideas will keep him in constant touch with abundance. We've all heard those stories of people who make $1 million and then they lose $1 million and then, oh, I'll just go make another $1 million. And of course, the average person's going, but that's what he's talking about. He's got that access to the rich ideas. I love that the idea that ideas are God's first currency. Ideas are God's first currency. And that is what Fillmore is speaking about here in this passage. Our rich ideas, which are ever available, will always lead to whatever financial abundance we could ever need. So, say with me, my rich ideas create rich results. My rich ideas create rich results. All right. Your rich ideas may bring you to a job, to a relationship, to a project, to a new way to pitch your product, to a new product, to an invention, to a new class to teach. I mean, it's just unlimited. It's amazing. Did you know that many inventions that changed the way that we do things came out of the Great Depression? You've all heard a lot of these stories, haven't you? Here's just a few. Jacob Schick drew up designs for the world's first electric dry razor after he was fed up lathering up to shave in the freezing cold since he had no heat in his home. Whew. By 1929, his razors were on the shelves. This is how the company that we know today of Schick came about. The car radio was invented by Paul and Joseph Galvin, who needed new revenue after the financial crash. Designs were drawn up in 1930, and by 1933, Ford was manufacturing cars to include radios. Later on, the brothers changed their name from Galvin Manufacturers to a company that you might have heard of, Motorola. Here's a really important invention: chocolate chip cookies. They evolved in 1933 after Ruth Wakefield couldn't get any baker's chocolate to bake chocolate cookies. So she decided to cut up a chocolate bar and put them in her cookie dough instead, resulting in chocolate chips. Soon, Nestle bought her recipe, and the rest, as they say, is history. After J.F. Cantrell noticed that only wealthy people and those that had electricity available could use powered washing machines, he opened the world's first laundromat. Wow, where did these ideas come from, right? In 1934, he charged people by the hour to use his 4 washing machines. Finally, and I have shared this before, the game Monopoly, remember this story? Was invented in 1935 by Charles Darrow when he decided to give people something to be entertained with after all the sadness that the Depression had caused. And how many of us still enjoy playing board games with our families, especially over the holidays? In our family, we look forward to doing that every Thanksgiving and Christmas, and anytime we get our family together. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So yes, rich ideas definitely create rich results. I love the way that Elizabeth Gilbert in her book, Big Magic, shares how inspired ideas function. It's a fascinating twist, which we talked about in May of 2016, but it bears repeating today. She suggests that we think about ideas as energetic life forms, as actual energetic life forms, floating around in the ethers. Think of it this way: God, expressing his creativity, is an infinite number of formless ideas floating around. We often thought about this, and this kind of goes back to the Blue Chip cookie company, because his sister had this idea to open up a cookie company, and she just kind of played with it for a little bit and then never did it. And, well, the rest was history. Somebody else did. At this point, the ideas have no material body, but in Gilbert's viewpoint, they are driven by a single impulse to be made manifest in our physical world. The trick for many of these formless ideas is that the only way that they can be made manifest in our world is through the collaboration with a human partner. Therefore, ideas spend eternity swirling around us, searching for available and willing human partners. When an idea thinks it has found somebody who might be able to bring it into the world, say one of us, it will pay us a visit. It will try to get our attention, sometimes more than once. Chances are fairly good that we're not going to notice, right? Perhaps we are so consumed by our own dramas, our anxieties, distractions, insecurities, and duties that we aren't receptive to inspiration. We might miss the signal. And we might miss it because we're doing really important things, like watching TV, or brooding over how angry we are at somebody, or pondering our failures or mistakes. Playing words on our phones, right? Or other equally important activities that occupy our time and our headspace. The idea will try to wave us down, perhaps for a few moments, perhaps for a few months, perhaps for a few years. But when it finally realizes that we aren't open to being enchanted by its inspiration, it will leave us and move on to someone else. And this is what happened to Rich's sister. But sometimes, Gilbert writes, there comes a moment when you're opened and relaxed enough to actually receive something. This is where meditation is a really good time to be open to this. Your defenses might slacken and your anxieties might ease, and then magic can slip through. The idea, sensing your openness, will start to do its work on you. It will send the universal physical and emotional signals of inspiration. The chills you get, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is such a great idea. The hair standing on the back of your neck, the nervous stomach, the buzzy thoughts, that feeling of falling in love. And then in a quiet moment, it will ask, do you want to work with me? This is all in her book, Big Magic. Has anyone here had that experience with a great idea that's come to you? And it's like, do you want to do this? Are you willing? At this point, you, of course, have 2 options for how to respond. The simplest answer, often the easiest answer, and sometimes the right answer for you is just to say no. And then you're off the hook. The idea will eventually just go away, and you don't need to bother with it. It may not be the right time for you. It may not be the right idea for you. Gilbert writes, I have many times been approached by ideas that I know are not right for me, and I've politely said to them, I'm honored by your visitation, but I'm not your girl. may I respectfully suggest that you call upon, say, Barbara King-Sulliver, right? I always try to use my most gracious manners when sending an idea away, so you don't want the word getting out to the universe that you're difficult to work with. Whatever your response, though, do be sympathetic to the poor idea. Remember, all it wants is to be realized. It's trying its best. It seriously has to knock on every door that it can. So you might say no, and that's perfectly fine. When you say no, nothing happens at all, and the idea moves on to someone else. But here's something really important to get. Have you ever had that idea and decided for whatever reason not to pursue it, and then that same idea was brought forth by someone else? Yep. And then you think, hey, they stole my idea. That's exactly what Rich's sister thought. Wait a minute, that was my idea. Well, we don't ever get to think that because we were not open to accumulating it, so someone else got it. Who was? No blame or guilt here, just complete personal responsibility, which is always an important aspect of our New Thought teachings, isn't it? So we have a choice to say no and let the idea go somewhere else. Then again, sometimes rich ideas for expressing the greater life, land on us, and we receive the universal physical and emotional signals of inspiration, the chills up the arm, the hair standing on the back, nervous stomach, the buzzy thoughts, and we might just say yes. What then? Well, we can approach it with fear, or we might say, can I do this? Am I good enough? Will it work? If we entertain them, we won't bring forth this rich idea into form if we're asking those questions. We can embrace the inspiration, and we can be entirely mesmerized by the idea, and we can roll up our sleeves, and then we can get to work. We often talk about in our teaching, treat and move your feet, pray and move your feet. Make your decision, your inspiration, and then go forward. This is what Fillmore is telling us to do when he wrote in the passage that I read earlier. We advocate the accumulation of rich ideas that are useful, constructive, and of service to the well-being of all humankind. So, I have a challenge for you this morning. First, if you want to be a person upon whom the rich ideas floating in the ethers will land, if you want to become an inviting receptacle, then it's important to do your forgiveness work. We did some of it this morning, but perhaps there may be a little more to be done. And then, when those ideas land, don't ignore them. Don't ignore the ideas. At least give them some consideration. Of course, and always be polite, right? And don't let fear stop you from catching them and then acting upon them. Ernest Holmes in Creative-Minded Success gave us some great wisdom when he wrote, when we feel that we do have the right leading, when that something inside us tells us that we are led, then no matter what it appears like, we must follow it up. Something beyond our intelligence is doing the thing through us, and we must do nothing to contradict it. Great men are the ones who get a vision and they go to work to make it come true, never looking to one side, but with one-pointedness and calm determination. Stick to the thing until it is accomplished. So whatever idea you have, big or small, go for it. This is how you deal in the currency of ideas and how supply in your every need will be forthcoming. It is because you have become a person rich in ideas and rich in life. Now, I think that is something to be grateful for, right? Okay, and so it is.
Yes, it is.